Ingram Smith, Bud Elliott back again for the Nolecast. Ready, ready, Bud. We have officially made it through summer. We've done every iteration of a preview show. Thanks to all our sponsors that made that possible. And we sit on, obviously, we haven't played a game, but this certainly feels like the first game of the year, a game that we've been looking forward to for years. And I know you're already out there. I'm soon to join you. Let's go, dog. This is going to be a lot of fun. So here it is: Florida State, Louisiana State. This is the prediction show.
Let's go, man. Preview prediction show. Love it. Shout out Charlie Park. Shout out Tarpon Sellers right up at the top here. And shout out Congruity HR Solutions. I know we'll get to you guys a little more in depth in a minute. But also shout out to Brody Miller of The Athletic for joining us on the. I know you couldn't join for that one. Just we had this is kind of how the timing works when we're traveling for work, right? But I thought I learned a whole lot about LSU there. Obviously, he's seen them, practice and whatnot, and that was a great read on the situation for him. Let's how are you feeling about this? Just first off, like do you go into this weekend with a certain feel?
I specifically added this qualifier on our show sheet as to like how much of your have your expectations, ideas changed in like the last 5 days. I am internally trying to pump my own brakes on, don't I don't get to listen to him as much as I'd like to, but Jeff Cameron had a great phrase a couple days ago about, don't let the uh rationality of August turn into like wild optimism in the first couple days of September. I think that's exactly what I'm doing. I do feel a little bit more optimistic about this. I've talked to people that aren't associated with either of these programs, but know ball at a great level. And they've given me a little bit of confidence as to some of the things that they think Florida State can do, particularly against this three-man front. I'm excited. I am eager to see this play out, and to some extent, this feels like an opportunity for Florida State to not re-announce itself. You're not going to be a national power if you beat LSU or something like that, but there'll certainly be a chance at a air of legitimacy that this program's been reaching for years. And yeah, you've had a UNC win, you've had a Miami win, that was awesome. This would be a little bit different, and I'm real excited about it.
I am too. Let's go ahead and start with the offense for FSU. And since you asked that question, like how much have your opinion changed? I feel like I've gone back and forth on this more than any other side of the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because I look at what happened against Duquesne and I say, okay, I liked what I saw for the most part from both transfer receivers, but one got hurt. Like, do I think Jordan Wilson's going to play? I do. How good is he going to be? I don't know. I mean, Darius Washington came out of that game. You played 4 centers in that game. Bless Harris went from blocking well to all of a sudden like just blocking terribly
Mm-hmm.
late in that game. You got guys, playing left tackle and right tackle. You got guys playing snaps at tackle and guard. You got Maurice Smith there, who I think has a chance to play in this game, which is honestly like if he plays in this game, it's maybe one of two things, maybe it's one of three things, but the people I talked to were hoping that he would get back for Louisville.
Yeah.
So if he plays in this game, it's either he has superhuman healing abilities, which is awesome. Like we should probably harness that for the greater mankind, or maybe they're desperate, right? And like in an ideal situation, does he play in this game? If he's full go back to 100%, then obviously yes. If you believe that, maybe he is, maybe he's not. Like I think in an ideal world, you save him for Louisville, but if he can go, then you certainly, I think you need him. Just given the fact that Washington came out of the game, didn't return. You've already lost Caden Lyles at center. You're definitely thinner at offensive line than you ever expected to be entering the season, just given the number of injuries you've had there. And I bring that up because I feel like the best part of LSU's team, I think, is the receivers, but the defensive line is not far behind, at least potentially. Now, last year they didn't play to that all the time, but down the stretch they certainly did play very well. You're not more talented than they are up front with your line on offense against their line on defense. Can you overcome that with continuity? I doubt it because of the whole lack of continuity this fall practice. Can you overcome that with scheme? Maybe so. Maybe so. I'm curious. Like on offense, that kind of I think I know what I would do to them on defense. Offensively, there's so many different things you could try to do, but I think you're nuts if they don't all revolve around, hey Jordan, you got a bye week coming up. We got a nice tub. Uh, it's get them wheels going, man.
Yeah, you can get bruised, just don't get broken. Absolutely, which is
Good line.
you just take it, just let it rip. Absolutely. I mean, there's certain situations where yeah, if you're over by the sideline, maybe you can protect yourself, but that's real hard to be like, hey, protect yourself, and also we need to just let you run loose and lean on you this game. So I think you accept that, and kind of as you were alluding to there, just for me personally. When I sat down at this desk on Saturday night and pressed play, I was real concerned about the interior of the offensive line. I think my concerns have, migrated outward at this point. I think you'll be okay at center. I think you bring up a great point. I heard very similar timeline. Uh, Granted, that information was somewhat dated. That was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And you're right. Maybe you have just had a kid heal in a manner that you didn't expect, or maybe you still had something that didn't give you an accurate reading as you would have liked originally on what that injury and time length would be. But the whispers are is that you're going to see Smith play on Sunday, so
Yeah.
that is interesting to see. Now maybe that's just a little bit of a smoke job or something like that. Who knows? But the more I look at this, I think you'll be okay on the interior. A little bit more concerned as to how you match up on the edge, and particularly with some of the things that they like to do with some of these edge rushers. The kid from Marietta in particular is a really damn good ball player. So it's interesting. I've had my own kind of expectation shift a little bit. I've had my own area of concern shift a little bit over the course of the last 5 days or so.
My thought is I do think that the combination of Alex Atkins at OC and Mike Norvell as head coach, given that he is a very good offensive coach and particularly has a penchant for creating explosive plays, not necessarily sustained drives, but explosive plays. Uh, Even when you think they shouldn't be able to, they seem to always hit explosives. Like think about last year versus Clemson, like no sustained drives. They still managed to hit a couple explosives. That's just Mike is good at scheming up explosive plays. And I like that you have Atkins as your OC because he's going to think protection first. He's going to think like, hey, can we block this? Like as an offensive line coach, you're always going to ask, can we block this? I think sometimes you get these offensive coaches who are really, whiz kids too, but maybe they call stuff that you can't block. I think that FSU I think they're going to try to have a pretty good blend of lack of negative plays while also hitting explosive plays, which everybody in the world is going to try to do that. But also, given Atkins' history with mobile quarterbacks and using quarterback legs as a weapon, I, and I haven't talked to Alex about this, obviously, but like it's common sense. Jordan Travis is the best running quarterback in the ACC, right? Unless you really like Malik Cunningham, but I think he's pretty damn good. He's good enough to play, I think, another position at some other schools if he wanted to. I think you need to use the threat of his legs on almost every play and just see how disciplined LSU can be in this system. This is a different challenge than what they see in practice, at LSU most every day. You're going to get a lot of zone at LSU. I'm pretty sure, just given what Kentucky's run, like where Matt House has been, them and the Chiefs obviously as well. But he's a Stoops Kentucky guy. I think that creates an opportunity for some play action for you. And I would probably try to run quite a bit of that in this game. I agree. If you were better at tackle, maybe you could do a little bit more four wide type stuff or more two back, three receiver stuff. But you saw a lot of Douglas in that last game, and I think there's probably some intentionality to that. I just think that they can't. They're going to need to cover up one of those tackles, probably on the right side, if I had to guess. There's also a question like, what if you do decide to play Gibbons at center? Like, do you do that and go Turrentine at guard and try to go more bulk on the inside? Uh, One game I bet you they've watched a bunch though, and again they haven't told me this, but I watched the hell out of this game last year because I bet the heck out of this game last year. It was UCLA versus LSU.
Hmm.
All right, and I took UCLA. I took UCLA on the alternate line, even though they were an underdog when I took them to blow them out. Right, because I thought that LSU was gettable with mobile quarterback run game stuff and really creative. Hey, like we're not only reading the DN, we're reading the tackle, we're running some weird midline stuff, like a lot of option. I think that makes sense. I also think it could play into what you're doing here because listen to what Brody said. LSU's corners are probably the weak link of that defense. They like their safeties. Linebackers could be like average, could be good. D line probably very, very good. I think you'll probably see a lot of off coverage early on and just trying to not allow the explosive plays. So maybe you're able to run on them, loosen them up a little bit, go play action, hit them over the top. But it will come down to, can you block them? Is Johnny Wilson effective? If not, can like Malik McClain or somebody step up? But if you're throwing more than like 35 passes in this game, you're losing. I'm pretty sure. Like this needs to be a game where you're running the ball 40x.
Yep. No, I think Florida State expects to be able to run the ball to an extent. Now that's different than when you expect to, based off what you have on the chalkboard. I realize people don't really use chalkboards anymore, but we're going to stick with that metaphor. Uh, I'm fascinated to see if you don't see a little bit of a similar look as to what you saw last year against Notre Dame, where you use, whether you want to call him like a nub guy or what I would refer to as kind of an H back. Uh, I don't know if that would be Burrell. I don't know where his health is, but I think you can create some interesting matchups there. Now, again, interesting matchups on Wednesday on paper and what it looks like Sunday night when you're trying to block LSU defensive linemen, maybe two different things. But I think there's a real chance that you can actually run LSU out of some of their base looks if it pairs the way that I think it might. So that's just my personal opinion. I think Florida State's offense matches up here a little bit better than just the generic national guy take of, oh, this offensive line is going to get its ass kicked by LSU's defensive line. That will certainly happen on
It
plays,
might. Yeah.
but I don't think you're going to be able to replicate what you saw last weekend. And no ish Sherlock. You're not going to have three kids go for 100 yards, but I don't think that's a total fluke. I think LSU will struggle at times and probably adjust pretty quickly, but will struggle at times with some of the run looks that Florida State can give it.
So I completely agree with you there. They will create some explosive plays. Let's talk a little bit about the defensive side of the ball here now. Defensive side of the ball is brought to you by Legendary Home Loans. Protect your investment. Get the best possible home loan with the Legendary team, 844 FSU loan. I'm going to see Shannon when he comes in town. I think he gets in town today. I was texting with him last evening. They're across the street at the JW, so we'd be pretty close, and we'll all be able to get some drinks together, and that'd be pretty awesome. Uh, Tremendous loan guys. We've done over 400 loans through them. Really, really exciting. I've done two personally, obviously. Tremendous customer service, great rates, knowledge of the industry, and you get a nice little Knoll chat when you give them a call. So full endorsement from us for the Legendary team.
Emails keep coming too. Haven't stopped. I know, like you
Dude,
said, you made a comment 6 weeks ago or so that things may be slow nationally, but not necessarily in Florida. And we get still, two or three emails a week. Two of them are, hey, send out shirts, and one or two of them are, I worked with Shannon. I can't tell you how good he was. So Shannon Young, Chad, best there are. We're fortunate to be able to work with him.
number one concern on defense by far is the health of Amarion Cooper. Will he be able to go? If he does go, how healthy is he? Right. I mean, that's got to be your number one factor. If he can go, if he's his normal self, he's not going to lock down Keyshawn Boutte, but maybe he can lock down their number two receiver, which allows you to play bracket on the number one receiver, right? Like you don't always have to go one on one against the number one. I I really can't overstate how important it is that he plays in this game and is able to play at his normal level of effectiveness. So like that's a key. If you have to play Green and Jones, it is just a big potential mismatch against probably the best receiving core that you will see all year. The timing of him getting dinged up is not fortuitous. Like there are games you play on this schedule, like for instance, not really sure Miami's receivers are all that good, to be honest, right? Um, but this is not one that you can have your best corner be dinged, and so we'll see how well he's able to play.
There is a like cascading list, almost like a flow chart of concerns
Yes.
that happens when you have if this kid can't go, and if he's not, let's be honest, was good in camp, but wasn't maybe the player that you thought he was going to be. So hopefully he's healthy. He could be, what he looked like he was trending towards at the end of last year. But I just will reiterate, if that kid can't go, there's issue 1, 2, and 3 as to what some of the ramifications are.
And yet there are still matchups that I like here. Number one, I do like both of FSU's safeties quite a bit. Um, I use the term red zone roulette quite a bit on cover three and on here, and I think it's very applicable here. Uh, Now, some people might disagree. They might say, "Hey, you need to like throw everything you have at Jaden Daniels if he's the quarterback," which I think he will be, and try to light him up. I'd like to see him in this new offense with these transfers they brought in and the offensive line, which is kind of a question for LSU, not an injury question, but just a question of effectiveness. I think it's better than FSU's, but how much better we don't know. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not better than FSU's. I'd be surprised, just given all the injuries you dealt with, if it's not. Uh, I would basically say, hey, we're going to sit in the two deep shell. We're big up front. Okay. Like Briggs is big. Jared Verse is big. Coop and Lovett are big. You know, Bethune's not tiny. Deloach has bulked up some. We'll sit in dime. We'll sit in nickel. Can you run the ball if we're in too deep? And if you can, okay, line up and do it again. See how it works. Do you get a holding penalty? Do you get a false start? Do you get a tackle for loss? Do you get something? Don't give up the explosive plays to this LSU offense. Jaden Daniels has not been a consistently good passer, right? Like I think if you are confident from the FSU side, probably the greatest amount of confidence comes from the fact that he had a 10-10 touchdown to interception ratio last year and was not particularly good the year prior, right? I mean, he's better, but like, 65% completion rate last year sounds great, but again, 10-10, adjusted net yards per attempt of 6 is not really going to get it done. As a runner, like last year, 112 rushes, 877 yards. So his legs are definitely a threat, but he's pretty skinny. So, you'll see how much he really wants to get hit. Maybe a lot, maybe not so much. I don't know that playing Daniels gives LSU the opportunity to maximize their receiving core. I think they think Nussmeier is potentially a better thrower, not guaranteed, but maybe. However, he does have a lot more mobility than Nussmeier does, and this is where I think you may have a bit of an advantage, right? He is not always somebody who sits in the pocket well and delivers the football. I think that if FSU had a bunch of speed rushers, I might be a little more concerned because I think LSU might be able to handle speed rushers better than the power rushers that Florida State has on its defensive line. And I'm not talking about the interior, but of course, Lovett has to have a nice game, pressuring from the interior. But I do think that Verse and Briggs, LSU's not that big at tackle, man. You got an 18-year-old kid, true freshman Will Campbell at left tackle, and the kid they have at right tackle is not that big. Like bull rushes, compressing the pocket, but keeping Daniels in the pocket, not allowing him to create an escape on the run. That could be fortuitous here. We'll see. Now, maybe they feel really great with the blitz plan, and if they do, my guess is they probably think, hey, the offense can't score enough. We have to try to create, strip sacks, turnovers, like stuff like that to really help the offense along. But I think that's really where this matchup is. Cooper, number one thing we'll be looking for. We'll know a lot of this in pregame. Number two, do your DNs beat their offensive tackles? If you don't win that matchup, you're not winning this game. Pretty much, I think. Like if LSU gets those guys blocked, I don't think FSU's corners are good enough to cover these guys for long enough. FSU's defensive ends must win that matchup, or they somehow got to figure out how to hold up on the back end if they just blitz their butts off, which is possible, I guess.
It is possible. It would surprise me if that's what the initial plan is. I certainly agree
I
with
would
a
start
lot
out
of what
more
you're saying.
conservatively,
Yeah,
and make them
expect him
execute in
to.
the red zone.
No, if Daniels is a quarterback, we all turn into Missourians, and by that, show me you can complete, show me you can be consistent, and maybe I'm just getting infatuated real quickly with a guy, but damn, if Tatum Bethune doesn't make me feel so much more comfortable about this particular game plan, about having an actual middle linebacker that can read the field, adjust to it accordingly. I just think that you couldn't have gotten a better linebacker, particularly for what you're going to ask of him in this game. So really excited. I think, Florida State's not going to be good enough to where they have a whole lot of like household names in the college football world, but it wouldn't surprise me if Tatum Bethune isn't like the name on the tips of people's tongue after this game about Florida State has gotten better, and look at this significant hit they had in the transfer portal. So,
Do you know who my guy might be? Verse.
Briggs. Okay.
Yeah, because I feel like he has the motor and he has like the power rush thing down, and I worry about Verse when he plays more veteran offensive tackles. But if they get him soloed on that true freshman, like I've seen Will Campbell struggle some with power moves before, just at some of these recruiting camps. Like now, granted, you're not really supposed to bull rush so much, so that's a very limited and sort of skewed sample. But he's very athletic. How does he handle more of a power rush? Well, but like he'll see that some in practice from his LSU guys, no doubt. All right. Hey, we wanted to introduce something new now, man. This is pretty cool. So we have a new sponsor on the show to announce, and it's actually a fun, interactive sponsor. You guys can play along with us at home. This is Prize Picks. Some of you guys have heard of Prize Picks. Prize Picks is really fun daily fantasy, and it's props, pick 'em style daily fantasy. And we have a special offer for y'all now. If you go to Prize Picks, just download the app, Prize Picks, a 100% instant deposit match. That's right. You deposit 100, you get 100 free. You deposit 50, they'll match with 50. That's pretty cool. Prize Picks is the easy way to play daily fantasy. Just it is. It's actually really fun. Like we're going through the app today, doing our picks before the show, trying to figure out what we wanted to pick, and you can follow along at home with us. Very excited to use Prize Picks this year. And we have some interesting numbers here. I'm going to read all these FSU ones to you, right? And then we'll maybe pick out some LSU ones, and then we'll go and figure out which ones we want. And maybe you can throw a soccer one in, because I don't know if you guys realize this, but you can also combine your prop picks with Prize Picks. So pretty cool there. For instance, like if you were a big NBA guy, you could do LeBron James under with Albert Pujols over or something in baseball if you wanted to do that. So here's some cool stuff for Ingrid, you still there? I think your camera died. All right. Here's some cool stuff for our Prize Picks selections. Jordan Travis passing yards is over under 225. 225. Rushing yards, 41.5. Again, promo code Nolecast if you want to use that. Get your 100% deposit match up to $100. Jordan Travis, 23.5 fantasy score points. That's just, fantasy score. You can check that out on the app. If you guys play fantasy football, that is pretty easy to understand. Jordan Travis, 2 passing touchdowns. All right, you following along here. 19.5 receiving yards, 60.5 rushing yards. Both those for Trayshawn Ward. Trayshawn Ward, 12.5 fantasy points. And then the third option for FSU this week, Micah Pittman, 50.5 receiving yards, 4 receptions, or an 11.5 fantasy score. All right, let's go to LSU real fast, because I'm already seeing a couple of these I like quite a bit. Jaden Daniels, 2 passing touchdowns, 229.5 passing yards, or 35.5 rushing yards for Jaden Daniels, 21.5 fantasy score. Kayshon Boutte, these are scary. If FSU is going to win the game, kind of need something to go right here. 6 receptions, 82.5 receiving yards, 17.5 fantasy score. And then Jeray Jenkins, the other very, very quality receiver for LSU, 43.5 receiving yards, 3.5 receptions, 9.5 fantasy score. So curious as to what they do there. Ingrid, is there anything on that list that you really like that you want to lock in for your Prize Picks? We can kind of build. You want to build one together here, or you want to do separates? What do you want to go with?
So I did the $100 match, and I used 2 of mine on Jordan Travis. Now maybe I'm just lost in the sauce, but I love the idea of what was it, 41.5 rushing yards for Travis.
Yep.
I realize you gotta mentally make note of sack adjusted there, but I think that's a number that you hit, particularly if we're all having a good time on Sunday night in New Orleans. That's a number that you hit, and in an effort to not be fully weighted on Travis, I also want Pittman over 4. That's a number that caught my eye when I went over this originally as well.
Those are actually the 2 FSU ones that I really liked as far as the over. Trayshawn Ward, I feel like it's a good number. It's not something I want to go under on, but it feels it feels like a good number because, of course, you have Benson, who was very good last game. I'm all about the over 41.5 rushing yards for Jordan Travis. I think I, I think he will have at least 10 carries in this game, not sacks. So between design carries and scrambles, and you have to think Jordan rips off at least 120 yarder. Like he's kind of good for that in a lot of these games, or at least like a 15 type thing where he gets down and slides. I'm a fan of Jordan Travis over that 41.5. I probably won't touch the 225.5 passing yards. Maybe they come out and just chuck it all over the yard. That would surprise me quite a bit. And then I'm also going to go. I'm going to go to LSU. I'm going to go under on Dre Jenkins receptions. I'm going to go with 3.5. I think FSU will try to invite LSU to run the football more, and so I think that's something to keep an eye on. I think under 3.5 receptions for Dre Jenkins for me. And remember, you can combine your picks. You don't need to all just do individual picks. You can combine them if you want to increase. So very cool there. By the way, I should mention Prize Picks has a 4.8 star rating in the App Store, and the app really is pretty easy. You guys can check it out as I'm showing it to you on my phone right now. All right, non-FSU selections here. Anything you really want to get to that you feel like, whether it's soccer or other sports or other college football games going on this weekend?
To circle back to FSU real quickly, did they
Okay,
have
yeah.
any? Did they have anything on the board for my man, Mr. Benson?
No, not
Okay.
yet. Maybe they'll add some later. That would be
This will be
pretty
the
cool.
last game that'll be the case. This wasn't planned, bud, but look what came in the mail today, dog.
Oh, we got the jersey.
We got the jersey. So
Yes.
here we
Look at
go.
that.
Later on in the year, it'll be right here over the shoulder,
Look at
undoubtedly.
that.
But actually, I'll find a way to give it away here in time. But shout out to Garnet and Gold. Shout out to Rising Spear. Awesome to get done, and we'll come up with a plan as to find that thing a rightful home.
All right. What's the promo code?
Nolecast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get that, and you were able to get your 100% deposit match.
I got
We
my
literally
match.
just went through the process together. It is awesome. Fully endorse this. Like it a lot. And again, these are props. Props are beatable if you watch your team closely. I do have one I want to throw in, like if we're doing a little combination one. I'm going to go Quentin Johnson of TCU over half of a touchdown. Quentin Johnson over half a touchdown, like that quite a bit for TCU. I think they're going to throw the ball around. I think he's a stud. I think he's going to score on Thursday night. You got anything else you want to throw in here? Did you
No,
find a
man,
soccer one you like?
I'm still evaluating the soccer options. That'll be in week 2.
Yeah.
But this is awesome. I can tell you the guy who I've been fortunate enough to have a co-host for 12 years is a subject matter expert on this. We've been particularly selective with who we've wanted to pair with. Credit to Bud and the good people at Prize Picks. Excited for their support. And this will be a fun little way. I'm as amateur can get. Bud's the closest thing to professional as there is. So this will be a good little review, and excited about the segment for the rest of the season.
No doubt about it. Thanks to Prize Picks. All right. So it is now prediction time for us. How you feeling?
I'm going to choose Florida State, bud. I'm going to choose Florida State in a 31-28 win.
I can see that. So you're all right. So I have already said that I'm on the under for the first half at 27. I think both these teams come out in a feeling out method. Ingram, this could be it. If they finish 31-28, woo, that's going to be a shootout in the fourth quarter, man. That's awesome.
It could be exciting. I might be overstating it a little bit, and I've enjoyed the preview, and I think you guys are right for your excitement around the first half under, but adjustments made, holes found. I personally think LSU's secondary is a little bit better than people say, despite the fact that I know those kids are a lot of transfers, and everybody rolls their eyes when we talk about first team Big 12 corners and stuff like that. But I think it will be a feeling out process. I think Florida State will have success with a run, and it will turn into not a shootout, but it'll turn into a much more entertaining and exciting game in the second half.
I'm going to break some hearts, I think, man. I've been really going back and forth. Like last week, I was going to pick LSU, and then early this week, I was going to pick FSU, and I just don't think they've had a healthy enough camp to pull this off. Like I want more continuity out of the offensive line. If you're going to be less talented, I want you like working together as a team better. and they just haven't had enough opportunities to do that, in my opinion. I think this team needs the bye week potentially. Now, if they win, then no, they don't. You just want to go play right next week, right? But I'm going to go LSU 24, FSU 23. A little bit lower scoring, more stops in the red zone, and I think both defensive lines do come through pretty well. But I don't have a lot of confidence in this, man. I really I could see, like, if I was betting this on a side, I'm probably just betting some alternate stuff, right? Like the error bars on this game are enormous. Who knows if LSU gels or not? Like they might, they might gel week 1, they might gel week 7. There's so many transfers that have to come together with this. I really don't know. I don't know. Some weeks I really feel like I know. This week I don't know. This is,
It's tough.
we've done this for
Yeah,
12 years. This is really
yeah.
tough. You don't know
Week
what you're
one
gonna get.
is always hard to get an idea as to what you are, and it's also two teams that were not great, and then gave their own kind of unique forms of optimism in the back half of the season last year.
Yeah.
And whose team was legit, or maybe they both were. And we're looking at two teams that are better than people realize. But um, it's exciting, man. It's really exciting. It's great to be able to go into some of these SEC neutral site games with some modicum of hope, which at this point I don't think you could even entertain had Georgia or Alabama come, 4 to 6 years earlier or whatever they are on the schedule. In retrospect, you might have called LSU at a really good time, and
Yep.
that's a whole lot of fun. So, want to thank Matt Lewis and the good people at Congruity. Congruity HR is the website. Fantastic. Whether you need help in payroll, more recently, the most freshest of the inquiries have been more on the HR human resource side. So spend 5 minutes with Matt. Similar to Shannon, the amount of positive feedback that we get on that guy is remarkable, and I can't give him any more of a endorsement other than I immediately moved my own company over to him as soon as I had the chance. So Matt Lewis is incredible, and the good people at Charlie Park. This is not like an official Madso event. They're not trying to sell tickets to it, is my understanding, but they will be doing the bar crawl on Saturday. Look out for that. Bud and I have already expressed an interest in trying to get into Carousel at the first possible moment. So looking forward to hopefully seeing some of y'all, most of y'all that are in New Orleans at some point in time. And Bud, hell yeah, man! Really, really excited and can't wait to kick it off.
This is why we watch. I'm looking forward to it. This is what makes the sport great. Go travel to a neutral site in an actual cool city. Hope to see you soon, buddy. And we will see you all soon right after the game.